everybody, this is Craig Peters here from Soundiron, and today on Soundiron Sessions we're going to be creating a futuristic style track using mainly our newest library, Microrgan. There's a couple other libraries that I'm using from Soundiron, but pretty much for today we're going to be listening to a lot of the different custom presets and sound effects that come within Microrgan. So let's go ahead and check out the track, and then I'm going to break it down and show you guys what I did. So let's check it out. So that is the track that I wrote. When I first started playing with this library, one of the first things that inspired me about it is all the different custom presets that it comes with. If you want just a regular old vintage sounding reed organ, we have that. I mean, that's pretty much the main sound that it comes from. But all the custom effects, presets, and the ambiences is what I really love about this library, and it was really fun to write with. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go track by track and just sort of showing you guys how I use the library for this song. So the way I use this track is I pretty much just held down two notes and used the arpeggiator that's built within the microorgan, and then I just sort of let the arpeggiator do its thing and create a rhythm which sounds like this. Let's go ahead and solo this out. Just sort of giving it a rhythm. And then another thing you could do too is if you want it to not sound as dry, you can go within the effects rack, and we have a reverb too that you can select. So I actually like that. I think I'm going to leave it like that. All right, so with this next track with the Bubbly Arp Custom Effects preset, I did a little bit of panning, just pretty much trying to give the track a little bit of movement. Some of these sounds are a lot of arpeggiators and different rhythms, so some of them are going left and right, some of them I'm using volume automation. With this one, I'm automating the panning going left and right, and then I'm also using MIDI CC control on the Reso knob right here on the filter section. So let's go ahead and listen to how this sounds by itself. So nothing too crazy, it's just pretty much going back and forth, sort of accentuating the melody a little bit. So the first thing I did with this track is I did a little bit of volume automation, just sort of easing it in a little bit. And then I did some other automation affecting the direction of the arpeggiator. Because I didn't want the direction of the arpeggiator to just be a repeating constant thing. I wanted it to change over time and sort of modulate with the track as the track's going on and building. So I actually drew all this in right here. You can see as the track's going, it's all changing. So I'm going to actually play this by itself, and then I'm going to let you see how it's changing over time in the actual patch itself. So go ahead and keep an eye right here on the arpeggiator, and you'll see how this changes. So that's a really cool way to sort of create a lot of different movement, and being able to automate that is very inspiring in a way that you can just sort of have a lot more control within the actual library itself. So, and this one's called the Carpenter Generator. See if you can get the reference. But this is pretty much what I wanted to use just for having that melody and adding that melodic content to the track. So let's hear how this sounds by itself. So if you're familiar with the Farfisa microorgan, the original one from the 1950s, some of these sounds might be a little different to you. The cool thing about the custom effects presets is that it's taking those original sounds and it's bringing it into a more synth world. So the next patch that I'm going to use is another effects preset. As you can see, that I use a lot of them. This one's called Octave Slave. Really cool. This is one of the first ones that when I first found it, I was like, man, this sounds really cool. It has that really dirty, sort of gritty sound to it. And this is, I think, pretty much how I started off my track with this sound. So let's go ahead and check that out. So you can see it has a really gritty sort of something that you can even use for if you're doing like a hybrid type score or trailer type score, and you just want that kind of dirty synth. Next, we have another custom effects preset that I'm using called Pretty Chill Pad. And I'm only using this in certain parts. It's just pretty much in the intro. The way I'm using this is more of just a pulse. So if you hear this in the beginning. So this was kind of my introductory into the song, giving it a pulse, you know, like I said, it's sort of like the heartbeat of the track. And that's all I'm really using it for. But if you're, you know, to play it up here in the higher register, so it does have a very pretty quality to it, but the way I used it was just more of a very, more of an ominous kind of feel. Next, I used a few different ambiences. Not only does this come with a main instrument patch that is the original sounds of the microorgan, it also has, like I said, the effects presets, which we've covered, and it comes with ambiences. It comes with 38 different ambience presets, all different, all have their own sort of flavor. I used 3 different ones. Let's go ahead and listen to the sounds of this one. And this one I used more as like a wave, sort of like this like melodic kind of, you know, flowing ebb sort of thing in the middle of the track. So let's go ahead and listen to that by itself. So you see it gives it sort of that wavy quality to it. Now let's listen to it in the context of everything. So very light, it's not heavily in the mix, it's more for atmosphere and ambience. So the next thing I use is another ambience preset. This one I use pretty much just at the end of the song just to sort of close it out. Let's hear how that sounds by itself. I'm actually going to play that again, but I'm going to play it in the context of the whole song just so you can see sort of how I used it. So just kind of ending on a little bit of a darker note, but Still pretty cool. The next thing is another ambience track, and this one I use for pretty much the entirety of the piece. Let's go ahead and hear this soloed. So this is pretty much just creating the atmosphere and the tone sort of throughout the piece. And that's what's so great about the ambiences is that you can use them for basic underscoring and just, you know, not really being heavily in the song, but just creating that backdrop, you know, the sonic backdrop of the song. So the two other Soundiron libraries that I use for this track is Glitch Hero and Apocalypse Percussion Micro. And for Glitch Hero, I use the Shutter Ensemble, and this is pretty much just creating sort of a drum beat, because I didn't want to use drums because I still wanted to keep it in that synth kind of futuristic world. So I used some of the sound design effects that come with it and pretty much just kind of creating like a sort of a fake snare and kick sort of beat, but using these heavy sort of hits. Let's go ahead and listen to that by itself. I'm going to solo that. So for Apocalypse Percussion Micro, I used it very simple. I just threw an arpeggiator on here, held down a few notes, and just sort of creating more of a constant, bigger drum rhythm in the back, just to sort of build the intensity of the song as it goes along. I did a little bit of tweaking to this. I upped the randomization and I upped the swing a little bit just to sort of loosen it up and not sound too mechanical. Let's go ahead and listen to that, see how that sounds. And another thing to note is that I did a little bit of MIDI CC automation on the swell just to bring it in and back a little bit. Sometimes I do volume automation within Cubase, sometimes I do it within Contact. So it really depends on, you know, what's easiest for you. Sometimes I'll just MIDI CC it, you know, or learn the MIDI CC, use it on my controller, and then I'll just do it real quick. Or sometimes I'll program it in if I wanted to get really specific. But yeah, let's go ahead and listen to this a little bit more. So real basic, it's just a constant rhythm that's going on that just slowly comes in and out of volume as the track goes along to sort of build the anticipation a little bit. So if you want to download the Cubase project and the MIDI files for this track, it'll be in the description below, so you can play around with that and see how I did it. So if you want to get any more information on any of these libraries that I use today, or if you want to check out a little bit more of Microrgan, which is our newest library that just came out, you can go ahead and head over to soundiron.com and check out Microrgan. We got a bunch of demos on there from some really awesome composers that use this library. And yeah, I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.